Hey guys, welcome to session 6. Today I have for you is data-driven framework with XML. Last time you saw data-driven framework with Excel file. First part of the class, I'll talk about what XML file is and why you need that to run test cases. Some theories, compare it with HTML, and so forth. Second part, we're going to take a break after that. Second part, we're going to come back and build a project. And in the project, we're going to automate a test case. I would like to automate a test case given by you. I've never done that with any of my groups, but I want to give you about 20 to 30 minutes, either independently or in groups, come up with a test case, something that we have not done from that TechFile site, and whichever seems most complicated is the one I'll take on to automate. How about that? Good. In that case, when we automate that, I'm going to show you how to use XML file to inject data into your test case and also control your test case runs and creating different suites of test cases, for example, smoke test and regression. More of that is to come. In doing so, I will also show you how to copy paste a dynamic web table. So let's say if you have created a dynamic web table before, do you have to do the same thing over and over or not? It's actually easy. You don't have to. If you have the code and the method already done, there are some things that you do have to change in it. One thing, what? What do you have to change? If you copy paste dynamic web table and want to reuse it, think about it. Huh? You're very close. Along that, something along that. But think about it. Something has to change each time you copy paste and put it for a different table. What do you have to put in there? The what? Path. XPath. Correct. So XPath of that table is going to change, because you have different tables, have different XPaths and different configuration. So if you just change that and copy paste the code, put it in the right place and call it properly, you got it. You don't have to rewrite the dynamic web table each time. Does that make sense? I have been trying to experiment with having just one class or one method that does all of it. All I have to do is pass the XPath to it. It's going to take the XPath, smart enough to cut it down, chop it up, and put it together and do whatever it needs to do and come up with the data. Hit or miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because there are some XPaths of a table which is very messy. They have it in a list format instead of table data format. How do I handle that? So for some it worked, others it didn't. Anyway. Let's get going with the theories, and then you have this project right here. How comfortable are you in cloning project? Easy? Easy? Okay. Anybody wants me to show how to clone this project into your local? Yeah? Raise your hand if you need me to. Okay, we're good. So this is from my last season. All the code for today's class is in here. Welcome to clone that and take a look at it. If I get a chance, I might upload what we create today. Each time it's different, and I don't like to do the same thing over and over. There's no fun in it. So we're going to twist it up and see if you can come up with a test case that we can automate with it. Okay? So, having said that, let's go to the theory of what XML is, and I'll post this into your notes. So XML. Yes. How do you spell that? Extensible Civil Markup Language. Right? Isn't it kind of like HTML? Sounds like it. Or I don't know. That's it. Just basically hyper what?
Hypertext markup language.
text markup language. What's the difference? So what is this? Well, XML is designed to encapsulate and carry data. It doesn't do anything else. Must have a piece of, or must have a software to utilize the data. So it just stores the data, doesn't do anything. You must have some sort of software written who's going to take that XML data and whatever you want to do with it. You want to call some data out of it. You want to send some data to the server. You can do all that through softwares. It is platform and platform or operating system independent. What that means, platform and operating system kind of sort of the same thing. I'm using Windows, some of you are using Mac, or if there's a Linux server, whatever that is, it's independent, meaning it doesn't depend on that. That means it is recognized by any operating system. You don't have to worry about compatibility. Question? It does not have predefined tags. It just uses these angle brackets and then these angle brackets with the /, and whatever tag you want to give it, it's up to you. Human and machine readable. Very nice. Do you want me to put that there? Okay. Human and machine readable. Yeah, actually that's the purpose. The whole purpose of this XML is that we can understand and also machine can take it and do something with it. Otherwise, machine language is so difficult. This is like a medium for us and the machine to interact. Now, HTML, on the other hand, if XML was designed to encapsulate, meaning packet, and carry that data in that packet, HTML was designed to display the data. Okay. Kind of sort of the same thing. HTML is also very fluid with operating systems and platforms. They are also independent. You may have software integrated with HTML, such as API calls, database, data display. It's also, bless you, human readable, same, human and machine readable. But tags are predefined. Contains or must use predefined tags, meaning if this has to be P, then that's going to do something. Can you tell me from your HTML class? What does that mean? Paragraph. Good job. Let's write a few of these and see if we can remember. This just says for itself, right? But do you remember this one? Correct. And so forth. You can't just come up with it. I can't just write, oh, I want this to be Anupa. You can't. It's predefined by whoever the creator is on this, and you can't change it. Okay? And each of these do certain things on how it's going to display on that HTML document. That's it. Anything else? Any questions? That's all you need to know. So, pom.xml and the XML file that we're going to talk about today is kind of the same thing. POM file also encapsulates data, and there are some Maven related code built in that takes the POM data and goes to the websites or World Wide Web and pulls those dependencies, meaning those jar files for you. Okay, so there's a backend software that Maven has that you don't see, but that Maven and the POM, they're like hand in hand. It's connected. So Maven is going to go in, read the POM file, and POM file tells them what they need to look for, what dependencies they want, what project structure there is, and Maven will make that happen for you. That's the software that is invisible. Okay, so that's what Maven does. Now, today we're going to use kind of the same POM type file, but we're going to encapsulate data, and we're going to push this data into our test cases that we're going to build. And because it's going to start with data first, we're focusing on the data first. That's why the framework that we're going to build today is called what? Data-driven framework, because data drives the whole test cases and everything. All of it starts with this data. And you will see we're not going to run our test cases from the test files anymore. We're going to be running our test cases from XML file. And if we right click on the XML file and hit run, that's going to run the test cases that we have designed in the XML file. And two things you need to understand, probably already know from some of the theory classes. Types of testing. There's a lot. So I'm not going to even go through every single one of them, but the most important for automation, number one is regression. Yes, I will write regression as number 2. Smoke or sanity. I like to interchange. The word we have is smoke used in our company and regression. Now there is a division between these. Smoke test, the idea behind it, it has to be overall. That means macro, or the word macro. Micro is small, you focus on the small thing. Macro, you focus on the big thing as a whole. Yeah, as a whole, I like that word. As a whole. That doesn't sound right. Overall or macro. And must be quick, okay? A fast testing, and I'll just leave it at that, but let me explain what that means. So if you go to this Tech Files website, what would be smoke and what would be regression? Let's see. You want to take a guess? What would be smoke test? All of these?
If it's clickable or not.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the jump. Then it's the other page later.
Dashboard.
Yes.
The dashboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with your site navigation first? Every single one of these pages or menus you have to click on and go through. You don't have to check whether CRM is displayed. Why not?
That's all the listed.
Now, why don't I have to put a assertion to see whether CRM is displayed or not? Why not? Could I do that? I could, right?
We can.
Assert true. CRM is displayed. Driver.find element CRM, whether it's displayed or not, either by ID or whatever. But why don't we do that for every single thing? Even if I did a regression and went into one of those test cases I did, and you ever ask why we don't do assertion for every single thing?
So it's not time if it is already displayed. But if the drop down list is not selectable, it means it's not there. So we don't need.
Yes.
We don't have add account down this list, so we cannot make our page.
Kind of, sort of.
Add account if CRM is not there.
Yeah, it kind of like that. Take a look at this. You are a home inspector, okay? And you're gonna go inspect the house and imagine this is a home. It's like you're looking at it from the sky, all right? And there's probably a door somewhere here, like this. I didn't do a good job, but just you understand it, right? Okay. So you're gonna enter through this right here. Okay, this door. And you're going to inspect a lot of things inside the house, correct? Okay. Do you need to do a huge inspection form? Do you need to fill out a huge inspection form just for that door? No. If this door was broken or if this door was shut down, you won't be able to get in at all. Wouldn't that be enough for you to know the door was broken? Do you need to fill out a form for that? Did the doorknob turn Do they do that?
Okay. No.
They don't do that, right? They will go in and check your water tank, certain things only. Check your air conditioning system. But this door, if it was broken, they won't be able to get in, and that's going to tell them the door is broken, so inspection failed, or we couldn't do it. Our goal is to understand what's there, what's not. Okay. So for this particular these things right here, you don't have to have assertions. Assertion is like that form you want to fill out, or you want to compare something. You don't need to compare anything. If you have this element configured and you have to click on that element, if tomorrow this element is not there, it's going to what? Fail. Fail where? Fail with that element. What is it going to tell you? What kind of exception is it going to give you?
No such element.
No such? No such element. And is it going to tell you which XPath it was?
No. No.
Yes. It's no such element, and then it's going to tell you what was using what XPath you used, or if you use the ID. Is that going to give you some information as far as what that element was?
Yes.
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 If you wrote an XPath with CRM, you're probably going to see the word CRM there. Yeah, and that's going to tell you that maybe it's that menu item. Okay, and you wrote the XPath. So when you recognize it, right? If it was an ID may have something similar to the word of CRM. And if that didn't click open or that element wasn't there, you'll be able to tell what it is. So why need extra fancy code? You don't need it. If you do use extra fancy code and more code to give you a wonderful human readable answer, oh, the menu CRM did not open, danger, or whatever. It's too much code, too much work for you. And while you're doing all those codes, something wrong in that code, it's kind of shaky, it's gonna fail. So we're gonna keep things very simple. These are qualified for smoke test. You don't have to test these. That doesn't mean you're gonna test this. You're actually gonna click here and click here and just check this, whether that page opens.
So are the regression testing different?
Yes. So for testing these, we have a class called navigation test. And in that, all we're doing is click here, check add contacts whether that page showed up. Click list and then see if list of contacts. Now they have the same name, which is designed wrong. This should be list contact page, but again, this is a fake site, so you won't see much relevance in it. In that case, I might just pick up something like either say this. If I think this filter tag is only displayed in list contact, then I'm going to take that as a landmark and I'm going to see if that is displayed. Make sense? Your choice, whichever makes more sense. Again, click on transactions, go to new deposit, and new deposit, I guess you want to see add deposit, whether that showed up. Showed up, good job, done. Move on. So that whole test case, that class of test cases, navigation, is going to go through every single one of these. Okay. And as a matter of fact, you have a framework where I have the side nav class. You can expand on it.
So we do have to do like smoke testing and regression testing. Okay.
Yes.
And in the same product.
Yes.
And how do we do that test cases? Like how do we manage those? So for same thing like CRM for regression and CRM for smoke test.
So you're going to have a class in your project that's going to have Let me see if I can side nav. So you know you have a side nav as a page. You're also going to have a side navigation as a class, as a test class. And in that test class, you're going to have checking, using all the data in the side navigation and using data out of all of these pages to have a test case. Maybe I'll show you one after the break. How about that? Yeah, I'll create a navigation test for you and show you how that's done. But in the higher level, imagine this page, account balance. They are just building, working on it. I had this last week. Yes.
How often do you run the regression test?
Every day.
And who decides what do we run in regression? What cases? What do we want to?
Because it's automated, we run everything. But if it was manual, it's a human energy. We have to be very careful. In our company, in most companies before, all of this was one application. That means if a developer made a change here, account balance, he may have touched on a code or a method that deals with, let's say, dashboard. He didn't know that because it's so huge. There are hundreds of class files, okay? And he's working on one. There's a method that another class calls. He needed to tweak it to make his thing work, but he messed up another calling from another class. So what happened is, let's say this does not show up any income this month. He doesn't know that, but that's a bug. And we would have to test every single page and make sure everything is there every time there was a code change. And code change is happening every day with 3-4 developers at a time. How do you manage that? So obviously automation comes in handy. You continuously keep running. When they upload their code and they merge it, just like our code is being merged, they do the same thing. Their code builds the software. Our code goes in and tests the software. But the process, same. Just like you have Eclipse, they have Eclipse. Just like you have classes like this, they have classes. Same. Their code is connected with, it will look different. They're not going to have elements. Their code is going to look more like, kind of like HTML. Okay. So with that, the whole page is going to display out, right? But your code is going to go and check. So when they finish their code, they push their code to the master. And then they go online and create a pull request. Just like I showed you, remember that? They create a pull request and their buddies or colleagues are going to review. And there has to be 1 or 2 people have to approve it. Review process. Once they approve, then there is somebody who hits that button to merge the code. Okay? At that time, they have no idea that they're bringing in some bug. They have no idea. Just by reading the code is not enough to see if there's a bug. Okay? Nobody can read the code and understand what it's going to display. But you have to go through small methods and maybe understand, okay, this is going to make this kind of display or something. So once that's merged in and you got a bug, who's going to check that? Us. And how? That's the question. Now, nowadays, because there's so many codes coming in and they don't want to wait that 2 weeks sprint. Remember the sprint from Adnan's class? Before, you would wait 2 weeks and they bring in bugs and they fix the bugs. They make more changes and bring in more bugs. And then once they fix everything, they code freeze. There's something called code freeze, meaning don't touch it. We're going to now take it from dev to stage. Okay? When it goes to stage, it sits there again another 2 weeks for the QA team to keep checking more, see if there's anything else wrong. 2 weeks, very good, super clean, no problem. Take that, move it to production. Okay? Now they don't want that wait time. So it would have taken a month, 2 weeks in the dev environment and 2 weeks in the test environment, and then now the production customer has it. They're thinking about the trend is you got the code now, you got a button available now, give it to them now, today. Okay, there's no waiting. Yeah, so how are we going to do that? It cannot be done if all of these pages are part of one application. Yeah, but if all of this is part of one application, you have to test everything for that one simple button. Make sense? So the idea was, what if we broke this down into separate applications? Meaning a project, a master, origin master for CRM only, origin master for transactions. And now they're doing that. They took this whole thing from Eclipse and they said, hey, we're not going to have list account page on this project. This is going to be on a separate project. Does that make sense? So code doesn't interfere with another code. Yeah, you do your own. So they have separate applications, meaning for the CRM, they have a CRM application. So if a code got changed in here, I only have to test these things. That's it. I don't have to worry about these because it's not going to interfere with this. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if I only have to test these and I have automation to test those, soon as the developer gives me this button here, submit button, all I have to do is run the automation for that much only. So answer your question, that's what we do. And right now in our company, I am actually overseeing and spearheading this experiment. And I have taken into 3 weeks ago, I've taken it from weekly release to a daily release. And last week we experimented with from daily to instantaneous. Like I had a timetable set up that we would release from dev to staging at 2 p.m. and then everybody work on it, test it, and then Indian folks, they also from India, they test for us, manual testing. And the next day, all the report is going to be ready for me. And I'll look at the report and say, okay, this is a go or a no-go. If it's all comes out green, everything passing, we push it to production the next day morning. Now we're experimenting with on the spot. So what I do is if there's something like this button, for example, and I know that CRM is a separate application, and I know that I have the automation for all of these pages, only a few pages. It's in dev. I'm going to move it to stage. I'm going to move this code to stage, and I'm going to run the automation for only this much. When the automation comes out passing, I'm good. Now I'm going to move this code to production to the customer. 30 minutes. 30 minutes, I move it to production. When it's in production, I'm going to run the automation in production and see as a customer, do I see this button? And is everything else okay? Everything else okay? I'm done. Move on to the next. That makes sense? So you can make a decision based on what change the developer made. What does it affect? You have to have that knowledge first. And getting that knowledge is not easy. I'm only scratching the surface. This is such a big company. Hit or miss. I actually missed something. In doing so, what happened is uh, in our automation, I didn't expect that. See this graph right here? I was testing these panels. I had an automation for this checking this panel header, whether this panel header shows up, whether this panel header showed up, whether this panel header. And so far it's been working fine. Yesterday I had a complaint from the executives that this graph was not showing for about a month. And I have not been actually looking at it manually, and we have a manual team who does that. But this manual team thought that Stein already added automation for dashboard page. I'm not going to even touch it. So they kind of slacked off. So my supervisor comes in and says, we got to come up with a plan. So I recommended, how about there are some things we can't automate. For example, some of these graph things, you won't be able to inspect and find a good element. Okay? Huh? Eyeball, manual. So I recommended having an eyeball list. And the manual tester has to check all of these. And in that eyeball list, Monday, we're going to come back and decide which ones we want. So this graph would be an eyeball list. This data show up in this panel. These are called widgets. And it has to show up. This has to show up.
How would we check the data? If the graph is like right, this is what you look like.
I still haven't been able to figure that out. So whether this graph is displayed correctly based on the database, it would have been possible if you could get these elements. And if I could find these, catch these elements like these dots and dots,
From the table.
yeah, and put it in a map, the key and the map, I could have x-axis and y-axis and have those data, and then go to the table from the database and compare and see if they're same. But again, it may be same, but how do we know that this graph was presented accurately? We don't know that. A human eye needs to look at it, and you won't be, unless you really analyze things deep inside, you won't be able to say whether there's a mistake. But do we test that? No, it's too much. And the customer that we give it to, our assumption is, I don't think they will be able to figure that out either. Okay, so they won't be able to figure out, oh, this should be like down here. Who's going to do that? Hardly they even look at it. Okay, they just want to get a feel for things, but they're not going to go in. Yeah, that's it. So if they get an overall trend, that's good enough for them. Okay.
So if this is only one graph, if we have 2-3 graphs together and only one graph is not proper, means not showing the proper, and then 2 are okay, then how the things will be?
What I do is I have a manual test case where I can bring in 2 of these graphs in here. And if it's an income and expense graph, and see this is for December, or it's a chart, I can bring in another income and expense graph down here and then compare the graphs and see if they're same. So I have a test case like that. But
So that will be manual testing.
It's gonna have to be manual, because how would you compare the graphs? It has to be a visual test by a manual tester.
So can we automate, like, if the page, half of the page was showing or loading, the other half is not loading, like when you go to the page and you can see the half the page and you scroll down, it's not loading. So can we automate?
Yeah.
To check that whole page out.
Yeah. When something is loading, usually developers have some sort of like a scroll bar right here, or a slider bar. You will see a bar moving, telling you that it's still processing. Sometimes you have a circular motion. Have you ever seen that? Yeah, it's gonna kind of do that, spin and spin and spin, and then it's gonna stop. We have a method that is called wait for spinning wheel to disappear. And in that method, we find the element that belongs to that spinning wheel. We get that element, and do you remember explicit wait
Invisibility.
until invisibility of element? That's gonna take that element which is spinning, and it's gonna sit there until it's invisible, meaning it disappears, and then it's gonna move on to your next piece of code. That makes sense? So if you have a method that has that explicit wait with wait until invisibility, expected conditions, invisibility of element located, and you put the locator into it, that's it. You call that method anywhere. And I've seen typically if the developer has a element identity for a spinner in this page, same XPath works for another page. If there's a spinner here, it's the same. They don't want to come up with new ones. They also copy paste their code, which is good for me because I only create one method that says wait for the spinner to disappear. Happens to work for dashboard page or spinner showing up in reports page, wherever. If it doesn't, I come up with another one with another XML or locator. Good?
So every page has a spinner?
Actually, they should. Right now, you don't see spinners because it's showing up so fast. But someday, it's going to slow down. So it's smart idea if you put in that code, if you call that method, wait for spinner to disappear anyway, even if it's not visible to you. Because tomorrow, server could slow down and the spinner shows up, guess what? You didn't put the wait for spinner, your test case now is going to fail.
You cannot see how would you how would you find it?
You have to play cat and mouse. So let's say you get to this page, right? This is a spinner. You just inspect it. Oh, gone. Okay, do it again. Took me hours. Okay, so, but luckily this is too fast. Let me see again. Where did I get that spinner?
Will you add a contact?
Add a contact or something? Okay, so you have to like really go quickly and right click, inspect, and you have this here, right? Immediately you open up this new, and before it's gone, copy. Now you copied this, okay? And you're trying to make out of, oh, that's the tag. It says warning or alert. It might say alert, the tag name. Then you know it's some sort of alerting or waiting or something. And then if you can cache that, that's fine. I know you could even expand this and go deeper into the element, not needed. As long as you can catch that particular element that was actually on that spinner, you're good to go. And then you test it out. You put that code in your code, run it, and see if it works.
Sometimes can we go with developer to get some code?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can ask the developer saying, hey, I'm having a hard time catching the spinner. What tag do you have in there? And did you have some attribute? If not, can you put some sort of ID so I can catch it? I can hook on that element. They will help you out. Okay. Good questions. Regression test cases. Yeah, and you need to know these things. You need to describe them that you have been doing that.
Yesterday she asked me, who in your team is going to decide about the regression test? I said, I don't know.
Ask more questions. Can you elaborate on that question? Regression testing. Decide on regression testing for what?
To rerun it again. Whenever there is a code change, who decides what to run and what not to run in regression?
Okay, that could be me. If I am handling the testing at that time and I need to check something, whether the code just came in, developer's code came in for the dev environment, and I need to move that code from dev to stage, or just want to test that code in dev. Either way, run a regression. Regression is the automation, okay? Why do we call that regression? It's because It's a list of scenarios that keeps building and growing. Today, if you came up with a new scenario, that becomes a part of the regression. Make sense? And then tomorrow you write another test case, it becomes part of that whole regression. That whole thing is the regression. Does that make sense? So why is it a big deal? Well, it's a big deal running the whole thing because it's going to take 30 minutes. You don't just want to test one thing and run the whole thing, right? You don't want to. So what if they ask you, you just want to test one simple feature that came in. Are you going to run the whole thing for first time? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You want to run the whole regression? If you just wanted to test that feature real quickly, test what? Just test the single feature. How?
Smoke testing.
Smoke test is going to just check whether the pages show up. But it's not going to check whether this button showed up. How are you going to check that?
Unit testing.
First thing is manual testing because you don't even have the code yet. He just made it. You haven't got to the automation part of it. You haven't built the automation. So you're going to check it manually. But let's say you had this a scenario, a test case to test that, and you just wanted to test that again for some reason. What would you do? Run the whole regression?
No.
Then how would you do it?
Unit test.
If you have the automation. If I have the automation, I am lazy to go online and actually check that button. If I know a test case, test that button, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it?
Unit testing.
Retesting.
I run this for this specific.
Say more. Tell me more.
Yeah, just copy that code from location and just make a this case and just run that.
You already have it in your local. Just run that test case.
Written.
Just go to, let's say, this is the test case. Here's my class, okay? I know this test case tests that button. I just right click and run it.
Can you run
That's
by
it.
yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go in. I'm not going to waste time. I just want to check the button is there or not. I know this test case checks this button. Hey, I just want to run that test case. You have it in your local. Hey, you open up your Eclipse, go to that test case, right click, run. Report come out green. Fine, move on. You don't need to run the whole suite of test cases. Does that make sense?
You mean run this page, right?
Run this page or run that particular test case only. Now, this will probably run all the test cases, right? And if you don't want to run all the other test cases, there is a tag right here. You say run equals false or something. Look it up. I don't use this framework, so I use a different way, which is BDD is coming tomorrow, I think, if not day after next weekend. So I'll show you how to do that. But there is a way in here you can say run equals false or something, and it's not going to run. And run equals true, whichever you say true that's the only one that's going to run. Okay. Priority is going to put like, I run this one first, then that one next. But if you want to disable, then there is one. Check it. I've seen it. I've done it before, but I can't remember. It's online. You have to check it again. Don't do it now. But so far, so good. Now, all of these, you running a single test case or running multiple test cases. Like you wanted this one, and then from this page, you wanted another one, and another page, and another one. You know those 3 test cases failed for you. You know the test case number. Let's say you had a number right here. You can also put a test case number. We usually have a C letter and have a test case number 325. And you just want to run that test case.
You can import something there?
No. When you push the code and code is on GitHub and Jenkins run your code for you, you don't even have to run it from your local. You go to Jenkins, which my last class is going to be Jenkins, which I'm going to show you later. In there, you put in this test case number. And it's gonna pull the code from GitHub. You don't even have to touch it. Your computer, nothing is gonna happen. But you just go online to Jenkins, and on Jenkins you specify this test case that you want to run. It's gonna pull the code from GitHub and only run that test case and give you the report back. Okay? So all of that is the fancy way of doing it. And in the interview, you have to say that.
Yeah, so the question is how to run test case.
Each test cases have a test case number with annotation like this. That will be your answer. So how would I run just the failed test cases? You can say I can run it two ways. One, in my local, two ways to run automation. One, in my local, meaning with your Eclipse open, you run the test cases you want to run. Got it? However many you want it, you run it from your local. And the second, run on Jenkins. Jenkins is a website that will take your code, run test case for you, and you can configure it the way you want to. When to run it, how many to run it, what to run first, what to run last, how many threads to use to run simultaneously, all of that. The Selenium Hub, not needed. All of this can be done in Jenkins, right? We don't run regression test case in our local at all. So no regression run. If I do that, I won't have access to my computer for a long time, 30 minutes. It's gonna keep on browser coming up and down, and what am I gonna do? I have other things that I need to work on, right? So I might just run one test case. But here, smoke and regression, the entire suite of test cases, you run it in Jenkins. In fact, you can get away with running things on your local completely. You must know how to use or run test cases in Jenkins. Unfortunately, this course is not enough to give you hands-on training on Jenkins. This is something you're going to have to migrate into when you get a job, pretend that you know it, and just somehow deal with it. I'm just going to show you, I'm going to walk you through in one of your computers as a volunteer, and you guys are going to follow along my last class, which we're going to take one of these projects that we've been building, and I'm going to show you how to integrate, which is very architect level of Jenkins, what you're going to do, which you don't have to, but you get exposed to it, like how do they set up the Jenkins. You will set it up on your computer. Jenkins will work, take your computer as a server and act like it was your server. Take your code, entire code base, and from your local computer, and it's going to run the test case for you. I'll walk you through the whole thing and you'll see it. Okay? So you will have that confidence, but you're going to say that you have hands-on experience, but you don't. So when you get there and then you do it, you just ask and take your time and play with it. Push this button, push that button, and just kind of get yourself fluid into it. Okay? Let's take 5 minutes break. But any questions about regression?
Yes.
Regression test cases typically go deeper. This is where the inspector is going to go in and check that water tank. Okay? There's a test case for that. He needs to fill out a form. In his form, he has a section for water tank. He has a section for AC unit. He has a section for foundation, whether that's broken or not. Those are regression test cases. Understand? And smoke is that door. Can I get in that door? Okay. Does this window open? Smoke test. Okay. You could add whether this tank is there or not as a smoke test. Whether the AC unit is there or not, whether the AC works, is going to become a regression test case because that's more detail. He needs to put in his thermostat and stuff like that and test it out. That's going to be a lot more. That's regression. Okay. 5 minutes break.
So the whole regression has one major part. I just want to know, we have one project and we have several of these things.
Okay. So if this is one application, then every single one of this testing all of these pages is going to be smoke test. Like just whether the page opens or loads. And going into the pages, whether I can add, whether this window opens up when I click add, functionality, going deeper, those are going to be regression.
Yeah, but how it's defined? Like in one frame? In one framework?
You're going to see that after break.
Okay.
That's what we're going to build. Let's take 10 minutes.
Hi, Stein.
We couldn't understand. Could you repeat, please?
Someone has sent a message to record the session.
The voice is echoing. Can you try your volume up and down or some other way? Can you type your question into the chat? Somebody asked me to record the session for all the interview stuff question that I said. I didn't, because sometimes I end up saying things that I don't want it in the video. All right, what you can do is, I think they probably just wanted me to record. Yeah, I did it now because I'm going to start working on it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 30 minutes and you're going to come up with a test case that we have not automated from this page. You can work in teams or you can work independently, your choice. You go through every one of these and maybe anchor into one that you really like, that you feel like, I can come up with a test case here. It has to have some sort of input output. So like this page is just nothing. There is no button. It only displays stuff. Account statement. Look, this one does something. Here you can check something, maybe view statement, and then it will give you something. So find something and give it a name of the test case. If you want to write it in a WordPad, that'll be great, easy. You don't have to create an Excel file. Those are too much work. So you give it a name, write test case, and a test case could be, let's say account statement. User should be able to view account statements. So you would write it like this. User should be able to view account statements. Okay? And then you provide steps. You can put numbers like this. Step 1, and go brief on the login. Don't waste your time. Just say login. Step 2, navigate to account statements page. Don't waste time in this either. Step 3, this is where you're going to provide details. You could say select an account. Step 4, select a date. Select from date. 5, select to date. 6, select a type. You could say randomly select whatever, and then click on view statements. And then here you say PDF file should open, or PDF file link should display. Link should display. That's it. Okay? Kind of like that. So let's take 20 minutes first. I'll check after 20. If we need additional, we can do additional time. So let me pause the video. I'll come to you. So your task, class activity. Time allowed 20 minutes. Get in groups. Online folks, you can't get in groups, so you have to work independently. To look through text file site. Write, formulate a test case. Unique test case.
Yeah, so you just do login. We're just doing it on a notepad. So we're just going to do login for
Example.
trying to see what all happens when I add something so that we can like figure it out if we can validate it, right? Oh, here you go. And
Okay, Robin, let me make you the presenter. Except when you're ready.
Yeah. And then
does it display?
Yes, if you can go to text file site and explain what's happening. I have a feeling everybody picked the same one.
Maybe click save.
All right.
This is the site. So I want user to make a new invoice.
Okay.
So they need to go to the new invoice page. And then put in the item name, quantity, price, and then select on the tax, whether it is taxable or not. And then they need to select the customer, select the invoice date.
So that part's done. Then we have
payment terms
and validate that it was added.
Select the sales tax option. And then click on the save invoice button.
Okay. Can you put in some real data? Go ahead and do it.
And validate added invoice. Added in the new invoice. Yeah. And that's it. If he stops at a certain point, there's that.
And then they need to go. Users should need to go to the invoice page and then confirm whether this is done or not.
Okay. Thanks. Good job. And I see your steps right here. Insert price, quantity. All right. Looks like to me that you all picked the same thing. Did you pick the same thing too, your team?
No.
You picked a different one? Okay. We will show yours in a minute. But you all have Gherkin version of this. So, hey, Robin, thanks. Let me share another team who did the same thing with the Gherkin style, which I have not taught them yet. Who should I make the presenter? Okay. Anupa? Okay. Except when you're ready. Yeah, please explain.
The test should be with scenarios. So as a user, we should be able, as a valid user, should be able to add new invoice. So given the user log into the page, and the dashboard page should display. When the user goes to the cells, then the new invoice should be displayed.
Yeah.
And when the user goes to the new navigation, the add invoice should be displayed. When the user enters the information and like the account, then the new invoice should be displayed. But then we have something wrong here. It says that new navigation should be the new when the user should go to the new invoice. It should be general, so this is general. We are not specified any button. We are not saying we have to save and close. We are not saying which information we have to plug in.
Yeah.
But we just specified one thing.
Yeah.
You should select the account because you cannot go ahead without doing it.
I really like this. There are things that I would do to rephrase some of these things and maybe boil down to even smaller. But I don't want to spend that time today on doing that because I have it maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, next weekend. So on the BDD, but it's nice that you caught on that really early state. So that's really good. Thank you, y'all. Did you want to share?
I'm not logged in with.
Okay. What about you two back there? Anything? Anybody else online want to share yours? While another team is logging in. Anybody else?
We could mention the no contact.
Are you in? Yeah, you all did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Any difference?
There is one thing you can change about that.
Okay.
Like, if you try to input the new invoice material, but then save and close without selecting a contact, you could try to validate the.
Can you share your screen?
Are you logged in?
No, I'm not logged in, but.
All right. In that case, just tell me. I'll explain it here. So, new invoice.
Yeah.
And you were saying.
So you input everything you need from item name, quantity, price, tax, and then you try to save and close.
Like save and close?
Yeah, save and close.
Let's do that. So what did you put in as item name?
We actually wanted to do a randomized one instead of an actual item name.
So just anything.
Anything, yeah.
Okay, and quantity maybe a number. And price like 19.99 or 9.99. It doesn't let me anymore. Or just not visible.
And then we tested the drop down by clicking yes if it starts on no. And then we did save and close.
You just did this and then
save and close.
Save and close.
It's showing that.
And then the error shows up.
Please select a contact.
That's why.
You would negative test on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether not enough information provided, click and see if you get that warning sign. That's a test case.
And even the text yes or no, that also can be a test case, right?
Not in it itself, but yeah, you might want to have one test case with the yes, and then check one with the no, and then see if they. Because what if you selected no, but they still gave you text?
Yeah, that's what. So that would be
So another test case. But ideally, you went to say yes, and then what? You save invoice.
First, we have to select the customer address.
So pick a random customer.
Yeah, and then fill that invoice, everything, and then save and.
What is mandatory in this field? Did you find out?
Nothing.
That's it. Just select a customer. If you want to change this, you can or not. Not mandatory. All right. And then you save and close, and it's gonna work this time.
Yeah.
So if you did that, save and close, you would validate that this page showed up, and then.
Then go to invoices and see if that page is showing up. Yeah, see it's there now.
Where is it?
The first one.
I thought I put in 19.99.
So, but
Oh, two of them.
Yeah.
And did I select tax? It doesn't look like it added tax.
No, we didn't
Select tax. Okay, but if I select it, then it's going to be. So this is what you're going to validate, which is a dynamic web table.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Let's do that. Do you want to share yours? Are you ready? Oh, no. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
This is the best option.
It's okay. Do it at home. All right. So let's get started. With XML, the way to create the project and do everything, all that information is in this page. Session 9, Data-Driven Framework with XML. So I'm going to just follow this and show you how you can do this. Even if you didn't have my video, just by looking at this page, you should be able to figure things out. First thing, I'm going to go in and undo some of these changes. Keep messing up test cases. Close everything out. Don't save. All right. Collapse everything. And we're going to create a project. Right click, new project. Same way that we did before. Maven project. Hit the next button. Quick start option, next. Notice the group ID is already there. You can use group ID for anything. Same group ID is fine. In this project, I'll give it a project name. Data driven with XML. Just like that. And there it is. Open it up. Still thinking. There you go. Still building. Now we have required files. Go in here. Delete this one. Go in here. Delete that one. Here's a POM file. So far so good. We need driver. So let's steal the driver from somebody here. There's the driver. Copy. Paste. Now we have it right there. POM file. Let's steal some dependencies. We're not going to use Excel. Therefore, we don't need Apache. We just need Java, testng. That's it. Notice I have Selenium Java. I don't even have the Selenium server. Actually works without it. As long as you have these two. And go to my POM file. Delete the JUnit. Don't want to get it confused. And paste it here. Now I have it. Control Shift F-O aligns everything. Anything else I need in this project? The XML file we're going to create, but we need to run the project, make sure everything works, right? So here, my next step is build. At this point, you can come in here and build a Maven. Maven build. Clean install in here. And click on run. Let it pull all the jar files for you. We've got to build success. Double check, make sure all these files arrived under Maven. And it did. Okay, good to go. Project structure. In the main and test, you need some folders. You can steal from your other projects. So here's a data-driven framework. You have this page package. If you wanted this entire page package, you can also click Control-C copy. Click on the main and Control-V paste it. And it will paste it for you. Okay, right there. And you want this packet, utility packet, copy that. And click on main, paste it, it will paste it for you. It's giving me some error. Yes. So this Excel reader is trying to call Apache, and we didn't, because we didn't want to use it. So you need to delete that. The whole thing. Get it out of there. We don't need any errors. What else? We have this test packet with one test case. We'll just take that. And in test folder, click Control-V, paste, and we have the test. And this might throw you some errors. And can you tell me why if I open this up? Again, these Excel readers. Yeah, it's calling these Excel readers and also creating a class. We didn't want that, so I delete that. And if I just comment all this out, that's going to be a problem because we've been calling this data in here. So how about we just take these codes off and do null.
You have to work with Excel in your work?
No. We randomly generate data like this. And that actually, why don't I just put in the real username and see if the test case works. So techfilesdemo@gmail.com, password ABC123, account name Kamal1234, description lunch money, I don't know, just throwing something, amount $20. And let's look at to see if there is any errors. Control S to save it. Still throwing some error here. there may be a, see that? Import, it's unused and it can throw some errors. So what you do is you press that Control-Shift-F-O, it will take away unused ones. Unless it's being used somewhere here, that's gonna be another bummer. It's not gonna wanna go away. Let's see. Control-Shift-F-O, see, it took it away. It took it away. Now if I save it, hopefully error is gonna be gone, and it is gone. No more errors. That import was throwing some error. Now I have data and I'm going to run this test case, make sure the project works. So if I right click, we also don't have the testng library. Do you notice that? For me to bring in testng library, I need to take this import for this @test off. So I want to get an error on it and then ask for it to bring it to me with that suggestion. So if I take this testng annotation away, he's gonna throw me an error. I want it. I want that error. Here's that error. Because now it gives me that option of bringing in @testng library. So let's add that. It's gonna add the testng to that library of running things, and then hover over and now say import test. And now you have that and that. At this time, if I right click and say run as, it's gonna give me that testng option, testng test. Click on it, let it run, make sure there is no problem with it. Browser opens, that's one good thing. And if the test case runs, then you're good. Okay, validated, closed out. It failed, I think we failed it last time. We failed it by this right here. Is data exist?
Yeah, because we added a constant.
We were passing a list.
Yeah.
Let's see the method. The method takes expected data and a list of data, which is actual list. So in here, the expected data, I was falsifying it. Now I'm going to look for what was my expected data. Account name, correct? This is the account name. Did I randomize it anywhere here?
Yeah.
I did, but I changed it, right? So I can just bring in and randomize here. rnd.next int bound.
I think
I did put some number here, but it's not going to randomize. I'll take that off. Kamal, and then this is going to add that random number, and it's going to store it in here, and that's what my expected name is. So if I take this account name and replace this here, now it's going to look for the right name. Save it, rerun, make sure everything's fine, then move on to the next thing we're going to do. The 981, that was the random name. Then validated and pass. In case you forgot, you can right click, refresh, go to test output, look for emailable report, double click on it.
Is that emailable report and that direct index those are the differences?
Yeah, I did something to mess it up. It's supposed to show me here. but I may need to. Yeah, this one are also supposed to. Let me see. Open with. Just do any web browser. Yeah, now it's showing here. So here's the test case. Test folder and then new account test. This was the test case. Add a new contact, and it passed. If it failed, it's going to give you all the errors over here. It took 25 seconds to run the whole thing. One test case ran, one passed. Okay. This is what can be emailed with this HTML file. So Jenkins is going to grab this file and maybe provide you with a link. That .html is going to come up as a link, and when you open your email, you click on that link, it's going to open that HTML for you, which is going to look the same as this. Make sense?
But it's gonna email it automatically, or
you can set it up to email it automatically. But in our company, what we do is we have a server that will generate a website full of this data. Okay. Which I'll show you later on. Not now. But all of this data is going to be on the web. With that HTML, it's going to show up on the web. Only you can see it in the network. No one else can see it outside. And these reports instantaneous, meaning it's there for some period of time and then you won't be able to access it. If you run it again, it's the older ones. If you save it, it will save. Otherwise, they're going to be gone. The latest report will be displayed. All right, let's move on to today's stuff. Then what are we going to do? We have done Excel file last time. Today, we're going to do XML file. So I need a folder to put that file. Just like this driver folder, we're going to create another folder called data. So if you click on the project, right click on it, and then say new, and click on folder, it's going to create an empty folder for you, asking you what do you want to name it. We'll say data. And then enter. This data folder will be in here. In this folder, we want that XML file. So if we right click on it, I just want to show you that this info is over here. Session 9. We've done number 1, build a TestNG Maven project. We've done number 2, add browser factory and test class to make sure the driver works. We copy pasted all those classes and it worked. Create a test case method and add the following above method. Oh no. Okay, it's right here. Add an XML file. Probably I should put that up there as a number 3 or something. Create a folder called data. Right click on the folder, click new and other. So watch this. We click on this folder. Right click on it. Go to new. Don't create file. For XML file, go down here. Go to other. And in the other, scroll up and down, collapse these things. You'll be able to find something called XML. And you would expand that XML. Within that XML folder, you're going to see something called XML file. You select that file and you click on next. We click next. It's asking you provide a name for the XML file. You don't mess with this .xml because that's how the file will be formatted. But you take off everything else before or the left side of the dot and you give it a name. We're going to call it regression. Do you see that we could have another file called smoke? So this is the file that's going to list all those test cases and inject the data into it and then run those test cases for you. Okay. So we're just separating smoke test and regression test case. But we're going to start with regression first because I want to build that automation that you all wrote. And then if we have time, I'll show you some smoke tests. Smoke tests are easy, regression difficult. So if I finish, it's going to give me this regression.xml. If it looks like this with lines, you are probably in the wrong tab. In that case, you want to do a different tab, which you want for that is this tab, source. So if you click on source, does this look similar to something that you saw before? What file? POM, pom.xml with this XML kind of symbols in there. So this is where you're gonna add your XML code to control your test cases or group them into whatever you think for regression and smoke. How do you do that? Well, let's do this first. We already have a test case here. This one, instead of having data stored like this, we're going to delete this and inject data from here and show you how that works. So we're going to have data in XML format, which is going to be carried out to your test case. For us to do that, let's take a look at what data we need and how we're going to write it. So that information is also provided. Close this out. And trust me, even I don't remember how to write this. I have to look at every once in a while. But to explain you, this is what it starts with. You start with specifying a suit of your test case, which is regression. And that suit right here, the opening statement, sandwiches right here. Close it right there. Inside the suit, you have test case. Okay. And you give it a name of that test, and data is passed through parameters. Wherever you have parameter names is where you have data. And when you mention the class name, this is where you are injecting the data. Now, can you see that you could have these two data in here and have multiple class names underneath right here? What is that going to happen? Yeah. So you only have to have one set of data that you can inject to multiple test classes, and you don't have to worry about it. And if something changed tomorrow, you don't have to go to every single test case and change the data. You just come here and change this IBM. If the company name is IBM and it got changed, IBM is no longer your customer, you change it to Hewlett Packard or Dell. One place, you don't have to mess with any other thing. All your test cases will now be using Dell instead of IBM. Make sense? That's what we're going to build. So let's go and build that. So in here, we're going to do open close. In here, I'm going to write suite and give it a name. Okay. And I'm going to close. I didn't have to write too much. It automatically picked it up. Everything inside this entity goes right here. So this is where the meat goes. This is the first half of the bread of that sandwich, and this is the last half. So you click inside and enter and give yourself some space because you're going to encapsulate it in here. Okay. Now, next thing you need is, what was that? Test. Okay, test, and we give it a name. So you're going to have an open close here and another open close there. This would be test, give it a name, and we can call it new account test. So new account test, and automatically did that for you. Open that up. Inside that test, we're going to have what data we pass in, right? So parameter, is it parameters or parameter? Parameter, okay. And this is where the data is going to go. So we're going to need what? Username. So let's give it a username. Name equals username, and value equals take files demo at gmail.com. Here's the data. Instead of in every single test case, now we have it here. Okay.
So it will be parameters or parameter?
Parameter.
Okay.
Right? Did I spell it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Except for parameters, you're not going to have an opening and a closing tag, but it's going to be open and close in one place. So you put the / right there. Okay? Because you're not going to encapsulate anything else. This is the last, hit the wall now. So you're not going to have anything else. Now you take this and add more to it. However many we need. Second one was password, and you change that to ABC123. Third one was the account title. Account name, description, and amount. So account name. It's not case sensitive. Well, just be careful how you write it. Whichever way you do it is fine. I don't think it matters. Description and amount. I'm just doing uppercase for now. You can come up with the system for yours, and that will be fine. Now, the last thing you need to do is you need to provide which classes you want to inject the data into. Okay? If you list all the class names here, that's where it's going to be injected. Now, how do I know which class name? Well, I want this to go into this new account test.java. You also have to specify which package is it located on. So if you say test dot this, that's where it's going to go. So in here, now I'm going to say classes. So open close right here, classes, and classes. Now let me see if I added anything else. Yeah, so nothing, no attribute for classes, but inside the classes, you add this tag called class and then give it a name and just shut it down right there. You don't have a sandwich system here. So open close. Class name equals Inside the quotation, start with the test folder, dot new account test. Did I say .java there? No. So just by that is fine.
Backwards, but you have to close the class.
This one.
Yes.
Thank you. And last thing, you want to do Control Shift F-O. It's going to align so it's more visible. Notice that now this class thing kind of moved back a little bit to the right for visibility. And this should be it. Now we need some data. So account name, let's call this, again, it's not going to randomize here, so we're going to have to mess around with that later. Call it Jamal, and description, savings, and amount maybe $20, $100. Okay, now in here, we don't need this anymore. Data is going to come from the XML file, but you have to do something. You have to declare another tag on top of this called parameters, and it's going to connect a connection to these parameters. Okay, and that's how the data is going to come to this method. So let me see how I did this here. Right after the add test, you declare this annotation called parameters, and then there's a syntax for how you are going to bring in the data. Let me explain this slowly. You would write in parameters, and I believe it's uppercase. Yeah, parameters. Now this one is parameters. If you spell it right, you're gonna get this import option, and there'll be two of them. You select the test ng one, and then that problem is gonna go away. Here, first you do open close regular parentheses, and inside you do open close curly braces. And in here, you give the names of those that you want to bring in. Now, you don't need all of them sometimes, and sometimes you need all of them. In this case, we need all, so you bring it, this one, username. I already copied the quotation. I'll put a comma, and all you're doing is you're mapping. This is gonna get mapped to this right here. Okay? All right? If this is your room, you ordered coffee and sandwiches, this is your waiter. He actually brought it and standing right by the door. He's not gonna walk in. And I'll show you how you can bring that food inside the room. So he's just standing there. Now I just did this password. He brought the password and standing right there by the door. So let's bring in all of these. Account name. And separated by comma. And then description. All of these. A little bit of a tedious work at the beginning. And then comma. And amount. Okay, so the waiter brought all this and standing right there, but he can't get inside. How can you get inside this method? How can the value go inside the method? Is this method taking anything right now? Parameters, yes. That means you also have to have parameters here. Okay. That means I'm going to send somebody go grab it from the door. So if you don't say string username until you say that, this username that's there will never pass through here and never come into here. Does that make sense? That means this username already went in here and brought it for you by that much code. It brought this techfiles.demo.gmail.com, but it's sitting there. You cannot enter. Whenever you declare this string username, this is now got associated with this. You open the door for this data to pass through this guy and go to this guy. This word and this word does not have to match. If I have an uppercase here and a lowercase here, no problem. But the very first variable the method takes will be mapped to the very first thing that you have it here. So the sequence matters. If I say password right here, that doesn't mean password will get passed to password. Does that make sense? This password will still give me what text? Username. techfilesdemo.gmail.com, because this password is getting mapped. Yeah, this variable is getting mapped. First one gets mapped to the first one. Second one will get mapped to the second data, which is password. What you write, that's up to you. Now, we're just gonna go ahead and fill in and not worry about things. Okay. I have username here. I'll just take that and copy that and match that. Those have to match. All right. Next thing, string password. This password has to match this password. But because the second one, this second data will get mapped to the second. Make sense? Next, let's do the rest. String, see, I have account name here. I would copy that because that has to match with the spelling of this.
So it doesn't matter the uppercase or lowercase?
Here and here doesn't matter. So in here, they don't have to match in here. But what you have here has to match uppercase or lowercase, because that's how they understand inside the method. Now, what else we have? String description. So I'll just take whatever spelling I did here. Even if I spelled it wrong, as long as this wrong one matches with the wrong one, it will work. Nobody's checking your grammar. This is not an English class.
So we have to pass all the parameters.
Yeah, this is one.
If the data is wrong,
then it's a long one. It goes all over. Or you hit an enter like this, okay? Hit an enter. It should concatenate for you. Enter shouldn't mess you up. So string and then say amount. And if I do Control Shift F-O, yeah, it didn't. No, it pulled it. It pulled it over there. Some frameworks, if you bring it here, it will stay there. So you can see everything in one line. But Control Shift F-O drags it into the same line right there. I know it's kind of hard to visualize this, but do you understand what's going on though? Okay. Now that we got this data got mapped here, and we should be able to run this test case without even storing this data here. No storage of data needed. And I could be able to change it here for all my test cases. I can have more of these. And and one piece of data given to all your test cases. Okay, but this will throw some errors right now. I'll just get one and run and then see if it works. Now, you're running the test case is no longer going to be from here where you do right click and run as. Because if I do that, it's not going to recognize the data. Watch this. Run as. Run this. It failed. Failure is telling me parameter username is required by @taste on the method add contact, but has not been marked optional or defined. That means he is confused. You set parameter, but he's not able to map it to a data. He doesn't know what that is, that username. There's no data. But if you go to your XML file, which is right here, that regression.xml, and if you right click on that and then hit run as testng, then it's going to work. And now these data, look at this, it's coming from that XML file right there, and it's going into this account Jamal something. It's gonna just say Jamal, $100. It's gonna fail next time because I didn't randomize it, but first time and it worked, and it closed it out, test case pass, and you got data from XML file. Just to demo you that this was it. This is all the code you need. It's in here, and you kind of make it bigger and bigger. You add more classes to it. If you see, I need one more piece of data, you just add one more. Oopsie. So you copy this line and say, I need one more. Let's try this. There may be some things that you have to set up for this to pass. What if I have one extra here but didn't send it over? Let's see if it's gonna break. I never tried it. We call it contact name or something, and say mark. Right. So we have one extra piece of data that we did not inject, that we did not ask for the waiter to bring in. Will it still pass if I save it? Or is it going to throw me an error saying, hey, you must use that data? Run as, and looks like it's going to be fine. It's only going to map to whatever you ordered the waiter with. Okay. So this test case may need these 5. Next test case may only need this much. That's okay. And you can pile up your data in here. I did not add the random number. That's why it failed.
And suppose here we just delete the description part here.
Huh?
Here the parameters are 5 parameters, and suppose we put the 4 parameters, it will throw the error again.
So if your test case, let's say, needs only 2 or 3, then as long as you have these 3 and you have this 3 mapping here, you should be fine. But if you have 4 here and 3 here, that's gonna fail. Or if you have 4 here, yeah, and then 3 here, it's not gonna be able to map it. It's gonna fail. I'm not using all of them from here. But if you ask the waiter, this is your waiter. If you ask the waiter from the menu, you want, dragon fries and filet mignon, and you want ice cream as dessert, but over here you don't want it. Then you change your mind and say, I'm full for the dessert, so I'm not gonna have these in here. That's gonna fail. You have to eat it all. All right. So as long as you order whatever you order and make sure you eat that much, you're good. And it's always in the sequence. So if the first one is your curly fries, then this first one is curly fries. And the third one is ice cream, then this is ice cream. Got it? Let's automate our test case now and see how we're gonna use this same thing to enrich this and bring in more stuff. See how it's weird acting now? I don't know why it's doing that. When it happens, I just go to perspective, reset perspective, and let's see if that does anything. Yeah, I have that now. I just like to close this out, give you more window space. Do you need a break before we automate the other one? Okay, 5 minutes good? Restroom break. 5 minutes. Recording the session, let's synthesize the test case first and see what we're gonna do. Here's the test case. What was the name of the test case? Quickly, guys, share this with me. New invoice. User should be able to create a new invoice. Sales, new invoice. Short right now. Create a new invoice. Okay. Steps, you do have to log in. Navigate to. Add invoice page. New invoice. Page. We're also gonna do, when we're here, we're going to enter what? Item name. Enter a random. Because if you don't do random, is it gonna throw an error or doesn't? Either way, we need to validate, right? Our unique one. So what else? We have to enter quantity. Enter price. I'm sorry guys, I'm not using your gherkin because I didn't teach those guys yet. Yeah, but tomorrow, actually BDD tomorrow. Enter price, and I think we don't need to worry about, for this class, we don't need to worry about this way, okay? Because I just want to show you how to take the data and validate using dynamic web table. If I can get to that, then we're success. And in here, we have to also select a customer for sure, right? Select a customer. Then what? At minimum, once you select a customer, then you have to say save invoice, or is it save and close?
We did save it first.
Okay. Click save and close, and then 8. Go to what? Invoices. Validate. New invoice data appeared. that okay? For your gherkin for tomorrow, do you see, and you guys too, just giving you a heads up, do you see there's a difference between this from here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 8, that there's some similarity between these guys? What is it?
It's nothing different, like you
Give
give it
validation
details.
of all the steps.
sent
there.
some,
You saying something? That's one. Dig deeper on that.
and the last one is assertion. Like
Assertion. So one is validation. The others are just actions. Agree? Enter a random item name. Just an action. He's not thinking back and forth. This guy is blind. He's just taking and entering, not making any decision whatsoever. But do you notice that this statement right here has to do with nothing but decision? He's just making decision. When you have actions in Gherkin, they are written under when. Okay? And when you have validation, they are written under then statement. So if I were to take this, all of these, because they're same, I have to write only one statement instead of all of this. Can you think of what's happening through all of this in an overarching way? What are you doing?
These are adding,
fill and submit.
adding more in.
Adding a new invoice or creating a new invoice, or so you would say when user creates or adds, whatever the website word is, adds a new invoice. See, under this statement, you're going to have this method. Enter random name, enter quantity, enter price, select a customer, and save and close. All of this falls under user add a new invoice. More of that is tomorrow's class. This is the new way of doing things. It's Gherkin. It's called Gherkin. And then you would say, then new invoice, or you could say that new invoice. When you say that, meaning you're taking that data that you passed in, and you're going to validate that particular one. That new invoice should display, however way you want to say it. So here's your action, here's your validation. Not today. I'm going to take this off, just to give you hints. What's to come?
It should end with and or then.
If you need to, then you hit and. Now, a lot of people, they like to do is like they say, enter a random item. When user, oh my God, I'm killing time here. But it's a good question. When user enters a random item, and I've seen some test cases like this, not good, and enters a quantity and enters price and enters, you see what I mean? And you don't want to write specifically what you're doing in your Gherkin. The philosophy is, what if tomorrow, to create this new invoice, this button is no longer save and close. It's a sliding bar. Wish.com. Add your items on the cart and you have to slide that bar to make the payment. Yes? What if this changes? That means you have to come and change that method name. Are you going to do that? Nah. Instead, if you just write an overarching statement saying when user creates a new invoice, you will never have to change this. How? You will have methods under that. These are going to be your methods that will implement that. Those will change, but your gherkin, you should design it in a way that that would never have to change. And a next programmer comes in, they don't even have to look at your code. This is your code. They can just pick this statement and run it on theirs. It's gonna run and create it for you. Again, I went advanced. That's tomorrow's class, guys. So let me just stop right here. That's why it's one way it's bad if you watch all my video from last season. Throws me off, and always there's somebody who does that. My first season, of course, that never happened. Because I didn't have any videos out there. So it was like a smooth run for me. That's why I recommend watch my first season video. Let's automate this, huh? Let's start with what we have. So with this, what are you gonna do? You got this. You gotta have that written down. This is your plan. This is data driven, right? So you have to think about data. What new data do you need based on this XML file that I have here? We don't have all the data, do we? No. So can you tell me what data we might need? Item name. Okay.
Quantity.
And then quantity. What else? Price. And this we can randomly select something. And no else. So 3, item name, quantity, and price. Let's do that. So in here is your data warehouse. And where we said mark, we're gonna change that. Make that item name. And here we can call it, and we're gonna randomize this, right? Item name. So let's say somebody's pen or pencil, and we put a number behind it so it doesn't mess up our test case. Next thing, we need quantity. For now, you can also randomize this, but I'm not going to bother. QTY, we're just gonna say 2 to see if that calculation happens. Times it by 2, what comes up? And price.
The data has to be in order.
In here, no. But how you ask the waiter is going to bring it to you that order. Yeah. And price, give it $9.99. You can randomize this as well. In real world, everything randomized. Now, we want to have a different test class because this is testing a different test. And look at your screen. Tell me what is the page name. New invoice. Is that the page name?
Yes.
Right click, new class, new invoice test. With me so far? Okay. We got the class open and we don't have any test cases in there. And mostly we're going to copy paste. So in here, I already have a test class right there, and we have some of this information. Yes? So why don't I just take all of these? I don't need this. So I'm going to delete that. I'll delete it later. Don't take all this. And let me see what I can get use out of it. Go to new invoice and paste it here. Obviously don't need this. I am gonna need this, correct? my test case name is different. It's going to be this time add new invoice. Okay, guys, this is how we do automation. We copy paste. We're not going to write everything. If it's faster this way, we're going to finish it up. Still show that we need 2 days to do it. Rest of the time, we're goofing around. We're pretending we're working, maybe taking a step to the kitchen and making some free coffee, and there's always free snacks. And all the time, there's like executives are eating some chicken fries or whatnot, and they have always leftovers and they bring it over to the kitchen. So we're like every 30 minutes, we go peek in the kitchen and see what food is there. I gained like 25 pounds since I started working, actually 30 now total. So a year later, I was 30 pounds lighter. And it's unavoidable. There's so much food. So that's what we do. Anyway, we need the username. We need password. We don't need this anymore. See? Okay? Because we're not creating an account. But in the place of this, we're going to need some other data, which we saw this item name right here. That we're going to need. So we just copy paste that. Okay. We're also going to need quantity. So you can take this data, put it in here. The test case will complain because we still have to change a few things. That data, we got it here. Okay. So the waiter brought me username, password, item name, quantity, price. In here, you also have to send somebody to get those food for you. Username, password, we got to change this. Item name, quantity QTY, and price. Okay. With me so far? Just changed it. And now let's look at our test case and see what we need, what we don't need. First, do I need to start the browser? Go to the login page and log in with this username and password. Site navigation, we need access to that, but we don't need to go to new account page. So up to here is our good data. This part, just let it shut it down. We may need some copy pasting here. So block commented out. With me so far? Now at this time, you should run this test case and see if it works. Again, this is now an XML file. You just added, you have to inject it to that test case. You're only injecting to this class, not the new class that we created. So that means you gotta get this out, copy that. It's probably gonna run both of them now. I wanna see what happens. So test dot, not new account test, but it's gonna be new invoice test. First it was injecting here. Now I wanted to inject in both of these places. So spelling has to be, this is case sensitive. New invoice test. Okay. Both places getting injected. So we have two test cases, although it's not doing anything, just logging in and shutting down. That's fine. We just want to make sure that it works. So if I go into this XML file, save everything, and go to this regression XML and run as testng suite. Let's see what happens. There's that one. This is that first test case. It's going in and adding data It's gonna fail because I didn't randomize Jamal. Second, it opened up for that other page. It's just gonna log in, go in, close out. That's gonna pass. One will be passed, one will be fail, or both failed. No, one passed. So you got. Let's look at email level report. It's much nicer. Refresh. Test output. Email level report HTML open with web browser. There. So you can see 100 of these in the real world. Each of these is a test case. And red means your one test case failed. Green means passed. If you click on green, it's not going to give you much. But if you click on red, it's going to tell you, it's going to take you to where the error is. Account name was not found. See that assertion error? That means you wrote it. Okay? Look at this. Here's the beauty of XML. Didn't you pass some data? Here's the first test case. If you use XML to pass data, it tells you what data you passed. Parameter number 2, number 3, 4, and 5. This test case failed. But the one that passed, look at this data. So you got a little reference. You got a pencil, the 2, and the 9.99. The data came in. All right? So you can just kind of validate that. It's this nice little thing that you know whether you pass something wrong or not. It gives you more information. Let's go back and finish this test case. So data working. Now I need to navigate. So navigation, where do I need to navigate? Dot new. So go to. Do I have a new invoice page? Nope. No problem. No problem. Go to new. If you don't have it, you make one. New invoice page. Open close parenthesis. Let it be an error. Hover over the error. This is the best way to write the method. And then let the system create one for you. If you click on that, it's going to take you to which class? Which page class? What's the name of the class it's going to take me to?
Site navigation.
Site navigation. Didn't I say site navigation dot? Didn't I say that's where the method is or should be? If you say that page class name and then put a dot, that's a location. You want this method to be in this class. So if you hover over and say create one, it's going to take you to the site navigation page. Look at this. Class is site navigation. With me? Now let's see how we're going to do this. Here's a method stub. In this method stub, all you have to provide is where you need to click to get to it. You don't need this stuff, so you can delete that. How am I going to get to it? Here's your website. What do you have to click on first? Sales. That means you need to inspect sales and find the element. What do we have here? Span sales. CRM was the same thing, wasn't it? So can I copy paste something here? See this go to new account page? What did we do? Bank cash dot click and then sleep 2 seconds and then new account page dot click. So I want the same pattern here. Here's bank cash. And look at this. Span text bank cash. You copy that same thing. I promise you, developers wrote it the same way. So it's going to have the same pattern. change this name to what? What module was it? Sales module. And what did it say in it? Sales. I'm betting on it that it's gonna work, but sometimes it doesn't. So I got that, right? Is there a page element here? Look at this, list account page. So if I copy that, change the name to what? New, or what is it? What's the name of the page? New invoice. So I can just say new invoice page. For list invoice, it was. For list accounts, it was link text list accounts. Okay. For new invoice, link text would be new invoice. No space. Done. Easy? Can you see yourself like copy pasting and have all the elements of the site navigation in like 2 hours? You're done. You just created a massive work, which you're gonna say it's gonna take you 2 days, and that's fine. Now I have my pages. Here's a module. I'm gonna click on sales module. So go into this method, sales module dot click. We said that do a thread slip for now. 2 seconds. Hover over, add throws declaration. Once the module opens, then click on the page name, new invoice page, dot click. Good. We're there now. If we control click on this, or control alt back, yeah, alt back takes you back to your previous method that you were calling. So this is the method you're calling. Click on it. This is what's implementing. Alt back arrow takes you back there. Right. Now we're gonna start adding this data. We're here, new invoice. Let's start adding data. We need XPath for this location. Right. So this is supposed to say input. It doesn't. It says text area. That's fine. Has a name. So I copy the name. These brackets might mess you up. We'll see. So do we have a class for this page yet? No, we never did one. So in here, now, all the same work. You don't have a page class. Copy any. Copy this one. Click on the page, package, paste it here. It's asking you to save whatever you made it changed on. That's fine. And then it's going to ask you, give it a page name. Delete that. That's auto-generated. You don't want that. New invoice page. Say OK. Copy pasted page for you. New invoice page right here. And you need to change a few things. You can keep the WebDriver. See this new invoice page and new invoice page automatically did that for you. That's fine. Library of elements, there is only one. You don't need that. Don't worry about all this. So I'm going to take all this out. Yeah, we might use some of it, but I just want to clean it up and show you. Don't change the constructor. Don't change this value. All right. What you do now is you pile up your elements. So here's your first element shell. This, we said we will check that element, it was using name. Agree? So we're gonna do the name, and in here we're gonna paste. I need to copy again. That's the name. Copy that, paste it here. Okay? Item input field. Now we saw it was finicky, it didn't like it. Item input field. What else we need? Come on. Keep thinking. Quantity and price. So just quickly, quantity input field. So QTY input field. And the other one we need is price. Anything else? That's 3 things we need, right? And we may also need to interact with, as far as data goes, we're not gonna, does it have to be selected? Probably not. But we do need to interact with this customer selection. So drop down, inspect that, and scroll up and down. See that? Select. And if I expand it, do you see these customers? Right here? So we'll just click on one of these. I don't care right now. You can make it fancy and randomize it. But we just need select ID is SID. That's for customer ID, I think. So select, open, close. We said ID. So @ID equals lowercase SID got highlighted, and we want to jump from here. Come on. Need to minimize it. Well, who can tell me to get to this option value 160, 1560? Probably not needed, right? What symbol do I need to put in? Forward slash option. Got it? This option, which one we want? @value equals 1560. That's going to take you the first one. Okay? You can also just say, I don't care about 1560. Just give me whatever comes first. What do I have to do? Let's put 1. Next time, whoever writes whatever, whenever there's that list, first of the list, give it to me. Maybe this would be a good option for now. Simpler code, so I copy that.
So let's give you the 1560.
It's gonna give me something else. Okay. For now, I'm lazy. Make that a 2. Is that okay? Give me this, the second one. I always want the second one, so you just took that. In here, go in and create another one. Give it a name. Customer select field, or not really field. Chosen or second customer element. We're gonna just take the second one, and using XPath, and in here, let's paste the XPath. What else do we need to interact with in this page after we're done with that? Save and close. So click inspect. It's a button. ID. Save and close. So one more thing here. Copy this. Save and close button. Got it? ID. Save and close. Done. Let's execute. Here's my, let me close all this out. Too many things. Open, save everything. And there's my new invoice test. I'm right here. And I already went to that new invoice page. Now I need to add those things there. So, who can tell me what's the first thing I need to do? You're thinking correctly. WebDriver, something to do with WebDriver, what?
Open the Chrome driver.
It's done already. We are sitting in this go to, yeah, we're in that page. Page factory, why?
Because you're in a new page.
Because my stuff is in the new page. Do I have access to that page yet? No, I didn't give me the ID badge to go into that room. I need to create an ID badge to go to that room. Here's the code. That page factory thing. Okay. So I just created that new invoice room. We call it new invoice page. New invoice page equals page factory dot init elements. Pass the driver to it and name. Give it the name. Page dot class. Now you have access. You take this new invoice page and you ask yourself, what is my step? What's my step? Enter a random item name. I'm already navigated to this page. Now I'm going to enter item. So this becomes your method name. Enter a random item name. Look at this. Dot enter a random item name. Does that method exist? Nope. Hover over, create one. It will take you to that page. And you are here. Okay? For random, what do you need? Random, RND, anywhere, everywhere, you can do this stuff. A new random, done. Hover over, import random class. Okay? Now, we are bringing this data from here, aren't we? Item name. And that's that item name. Why don't I just pass that there? Okay, now he's gonna complain. He's like, well, you never declared data type over there as you're gonna take anything. See? This? There's nothing there. But you're passing something? Not gonna work. Tell me that I can take something, then pass me something. So string item name. Now he's happy. This takes item name, and you are giving me item name. With me? Go in here. Where are you gonna send it? Item input field. So if you take that, if you put a dot, does it give you send keys? Yes? But we said we don't want to just send the item name, we want to give it a random number too. Can I just take that, put it in here first? I am just sending the item name. It came from way XML file, passing through people, whatever that is. And it's in here, okay? You can take, who can tell me how can I slap a number, random number behind this guy? Yes, concatenate with what symbol first? Plus RND dot next int, oops, went away. Next int, which one? Second one. Take the second one. Inbound, give it a bound, otherwise it could be a way big number. And just go to 999, 3 digits. Done. Unfortunately, you do have to save this data too, right? What you're sending. So you're gonna have to validate, but I don't want to go there today. I think I'm just gonna finish this test case by one and then let you guys go. Let's store this because we're gonna need this. Right now, it's not storing anywhere. It's passing directly, yes? Here's what you can do. String item name or expected item name equals, let's bring all this here. And take this, pass it here. So far so good. Problem is, this is only part of this method. You won't be able to get anything. But look at this. You can do something like this. What if I want this method also to return me? Can you do that?
Yeah.
So if you just say return expected, it's going to return it for you. You just have to change this void to whatever data type you're returning. What are you returning? String. We're good here. He's happy. The other method might complain. He's not complaining, but this whole thing is returning that randomized item name. Are you storing it anywhere here? No, and you won't be able to access it if you don't store it. So you create another storage container for this guy. Say string expected item name, because you're going to need it here, and bring it up here. This is your expected data. Okay, a lot going on here. So we'll go up there, enter that, and give us that randomized. Could I have randomized it here and send it? Yeah. I just wanted to complicate and show you things. Entered the item. Next what? What's my next task? Going fast. With me so far? hover over, create method, quantity field. Oops, I forgot to pass something. Let me delete that. Don't I need to pass the quantity I got from XML file? Copy, paste it. If you paste it and hover over now, do that. Look at this. They added this part for you. You didn't have to do that anymore. Now delete this center part. Take this quantity in full input field. Bring it here. Dot send keys. That quantity you got, pass it. Going back. What's our next step? Enter price. Same thing. Take that. Dot enter price. Everything is a method. And inside this price, you're passing in price. We'll come back to it in a second. What's the next thing? Select a customer. Dot select a customer. Isn't this more readable? Because your reader can see what you're doing with this method names. These are your steps in your test case. Select a customer does not take anything. What's my next step? Click save and close. So you go in here, you do the same thing, take that, dot, click, save, and close, camel case, Java. Almost done. You just have to do a validation after that. So let's go, do one, enter price. Price takes a price with it. It didn't do anything? I don't know, I clicked something wrong. Where did it go? Enter quantity. Okay, let me mess it up. Oh, wait.
Enter quantity and enter quantity. I think enter price
This should be
from here.
This should be enterprise.
Yeah.
Just change the name.
Oh.
Yeah, enterprise.
Enterprise. Ah, okay. So hover over, create method, and in here, price input field, dot send keys, and I'm sending price. Okay. Hover over, select a customer. Who can tell me what I need to do here? We found the customer's second customer. Dot, click, select on the second customer. And last thing, save, click save and close. So go there. There's save and close button. Dot, click. Okay. At this point, requires you to test it to see if it works. With me so far? That was a handful. Save it. Did I do something? Did I mess up something? Windows perspective, reset perspective. Think what mistake I could have made, or how do I resolve this? Always save, Control Shift FO, clean things up.
Maybe you just put it directly in the
I may have. It is there? It's within the class, correct? And these methods should close with the methods. Yeah, I may have clicked on something. Let me see if I create this expected dot enter a random item. Thought I already have the method. Something got changed. Let me just copy this here. And it's returning string. And delete this. It's even mapping to it. See, if I control click on this, maps to it. Let's run this and see what's going on. Go to XML file. We don't want this. So I'm just gonna take it off. Run as, and see what happens. It's not supposed to run at all. So even when I was pressing Control S to save it, it wasn't saving it. But look at this error went away when I ran it. This is the bad thing about this Eclipse. It's not that great. If you buy a paid version, then it works. Okay. Do you want me to carry on and do the other part, assertion, or do you want to pause here and end for today?
Can we do it tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah. I have a heavy class tomorrow on BDD. So if I have time, I may be able to. But if you give me 15 minutes, I may be able to copy paste and show you.
Give us 5 minutes break.
Break and then?
No break. No break. No break. Okay.
All right. So now this has created the invoice for you. However, we are not in this page called invoices. Menu is still open. We need to get to page called invoices. So we're going to click on invoice to get to here. So navigation, site navigation. You ask different people to do different things. Navigation takes you there. Site navigation dot go to invoices page. You might say without clicking on module. Does that make sense why I did that? Because you're not clicking on the sales on this without clicking on sales, because sales has already been clicked and opened up. If you click on sales and then try to click on invoice, your test case will fail because that element is no longer available. Okay? So Whoever reads your method will know if I take this one, I am not clicking on the module, just clicking on the page itself. Hover over create class. In here, you need a page, copy a page element, give it the name, invoices page, and invoices page will have the word invoice. Good. Take this invoices page. In that new method, that dot click. Done. Got me there. Now, validate it. We already did validation, didn't we? So what if you wanted to copy paste your dynamic web table and you don't want to do the mess? How are you going to do that? First, find where we did the dynamic web table. So this new accounts test here for dynamic web table validation, you created a list called account list and you called a class account list page and get list off. You had a method called get list off and you passed what table column to get the data from. Okay, and then you had a assertion where you have another method that checks is data exist. In that you passed account name or expected and a list of data, and then if it failed you provided a failure method. This is the hardest it's gonna go in your automation. So if you do understand this and not be able to do it, you are still very good. You can figure this out in 6 months of your work. Nobody will know you don't know this. Yeah, nobody. You will have enough time to copy paste and run, failing, fix this, no, run again, fix it. You have enough time to do that, but never tell them you don't know. Okay? Sure, you just listen, yeah, okay. I can get it to you tomorrow, right? If you need more time, just say, yeah, I had more meetings and things like that, I can focus, so I need another day. Do it. Got it? Or go home. Do that extra work first few months of your job experience. Anyway, copy this whole thing and resolve it one at a time for this, your new test case page. So I'm going to delete this. It's already there. I'm going to delete it and show you how I'm going to fix this. Okay. So I am going to copy these two pieces of code and paste it here. For my specific situation, I want to get list from which class? Invoices page. Do I have access to that page? No. That means I need a page factory. Invoices page driver and did I say invoices? You should be able to. Did I spell it wrong? I never had a page created. We have new invoices, but this one invoices where it's going to show you we don't have that, so we need another class. So we'll go in here, copy, yes, for that table. So copy one of these, paste it, asking me to save, invoices, There's that invoices page. Keep the WebDriver. Keep that. And look, I actually copied one class that had all these methods already there. Okay, so it's still fine. We're gonna see if we can make it work. Let me clean up the other mess. So here, invoices page. Now hover over import invoices page. We're all good. We're gonna change this to invoices, this reference name. Still gonna be account list. Well, we can change this too. What data do we want from here? What data we want? Isn't that where we put in our name?
Yeah, no, we randomize it. We put in random.
Yeah. Where's my one that I did? I don't know. Am I in the wrong page? Hey guys, I'm a little lost. So when you create this, does it show up here? Who's this person? Anna?
I ran that yesterday.
You ran it yesterday? All right, real quickly, because if our data doesn't come up here, what were we doing? We're passing what, pencil? 1, 2, 3, quantity 2, and price, and then hitting on a customer, and then save and close. That amount is fine. Pencil 1, 2, 3. Where?
I think like we cannot do the account because we didn't run the one account.
See, our randomize we can't really check. We're gonna have to check just the price.
Yeah, because it's not there. The item.
Yeah.
The item name.
Yeah. So there's no unique anything. This is the user we clicked on.
Yeah. That's why. So
yeah, and if we do select these, there's going to be multiple of these. So it's going to get a little messy.
In this test case, we don't have to return any column.
You do still have to. Here's what you want to do.
You don't even have the name or.
One, you can have this column and verify, make sure that you get that account.
For that, we have to
go to the account check if they have that.
This is not a good table because you should be able to pass something in here that would display. This is not displaying that unique unless there's a detail view.
Yes. Yeah, down there.
Where?
Yeah.
That. Yeah. Then we're going away from dynamic web table.
Yeah, right? Because you have to click on the account and go.
You would click on the first view. In this case, I would do that. If I were to verify this, I would come up here and go to invoices and click on view for the very first view because I know that it's coming in right here on the top of the table. And most of the time it's going to pass. When it's going to fail is somebody else immediately, right when you're running the test case, created one. And now yours became the second. And then it's going to fail. Do you want me to do the dynamic web table and just kind of verify this amount? There will be duplicate, it will still pass. You want me to do that? Finish up? Okay. So I got this. This time I want which column? Amount. So in here you want to write down amount. We'll make it work. And if we go in here, it's bringing amount. It's creating all that indexes. Who can tell me what I need to change here? What data do I need to change here? Everything else can stay the same. Just this XPath. This was the XPath that was pertained to the other table. But for this table, we need to check to see if this is still good. How? Just copy this. Come up here, inspect this page, Control F, paste it here, take this index off, and put in, let's say, 1. And that's it. Just actually see if that 1 gives you all of these data. Okay. Yeah, you can do 1. It's fine. I was thinking it's gonna just map it to one piece of data, but it's going through every single one of them, which is still okay. Which would be still okay as long as it's mapping here. You're good to go. Okay. So you don't need to change anything in here. Still has the same structure. What about this guy? Get header index, and you want to check this guy if it takes you to the header. See that header right there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you don't actually have to change anything. It will work for this method as well. Right? Now it's doing its thing, going in there, getting a header index. You just copy paste this stuff. You brought it in here. In here, you already have the list of data. You said amount is going to get you those amounts. You created your own. This was going to be amount list. Is data exist? I also copied that method. This method takes expected data and takes the actual list. Okay, so is data exist? Here's the list now. And we're checking amount, correct? We need to see what amount we passed in. This is the amount, isn't it? The price times quantity. You can actually do that right here. It's not gonna like it. It's actually it's a data type mismatch. Okay, let's fix that. So there's more to it. Didn't expect this. All right. We cannot multiply a string with a string. So this is gonna be heavy. Just bear with me. First, we're gonna store it in a string.
Can we broadcast it to Messenger?
We are going to. So watch this. This is very important actually. Data conversion is the key because you gotta mess around with data and then play with it, compare, contrast. I don't get much opportunity to explain this, but it just kind of came right now with this test case. So let's just say, we're just gonna say expected amount. We are gonna create a variable container. In this container, I'm gonna take this data quantity, it's string, I'm gonna convert it to a int. How do we do that?
Yeah. So the quantity is dot
There's something called integer casting works too. Integer dot, if you do that,
we have to use string dot amount of
string dot value of will take the int and convert it to the string. Oh, sorry, I'm getting old. Integer dot parse int dot parse, that one. Parse int, and whatever string you put in, it will become an int. Okay, so you take that, and we want it to pass what? Quantity, QTY. Already complaining because you now have an integer that you're trying to store it into string. Don't worry. Can I multiply this now? Yes. Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be it. Because we have to, right? That's very nice people.
Float?
Oh, sorry, float, right?
But it's going to come as a string, and that will become an int. It will probably round it. It would do its thing. You have another one, integer dot parse int, and this time you take the price. Okay, let's resolve one problem at a time. So can I put a bracket here just to say that all this is one thing? So all of this got this quantity 2 and price 19.99 got multiplied, became 39 point something. If you hover over, it's gonna say type mismatch. Why? Because you got integer on the right side of the equal sign, and over on the left side you're trying to store string. So you take this whole thing now and convert it to a string. So how would you do that? In that case, you say string dot, and there's an option says value of. And what do you want to put in here? That's your choice. So if you take a float, you would to take that, but you want integer. And if you select that, it's gonna give you all these lines right here. Wherever this I is all of this has to go. So if you just highlight it all the way up to here, Control X will cut and copy it for you. Go up here, double click there, and Control V. And now everybody's happy. Okay? In this is data exists, now I need to pass in expected amount and pass in here. Did you notice that there was a dollar sign showed up We did not throw the dollar sign there, did we? No. It's going to pick up the dollar sign too. And it's going to try to see, it's this method, look at this. What does it say? Dot equals ignore case, meaning it's going to try to see if they're equal. Even if $39.99 equals dollar symbol $39.99 for computer, they don't. It's going to fail. All right. If you create another method, is data matching? And instead of equal, you say contains. As long as $39.99 there, we're happy. We don't care about the dollar sign or whatever, whatnot. Okay, your restriction gets a little bit lighter, but which one contains what, that matters. How you say it matters. Why? If you say $39.99 and then say contains $39.99, is that gonna pass or fail? It's read like this: $39.99 contains in here. Does $39.99 contain in here? $39.99 contains, but the dollar sign doesn't. This is going to fail. Okay. But if you say $39.99 contains in here, and in here you have the dollar sign $39.99, computer is going to take this and check to see if it's there. He's going to see, oh yeah, it's there. Good. This is going to be yes. So which element you put first, dot contains matters. And you do it wrong, you'll be pulling your hair out. So which is what? Where does the dollar sign show up? The actual list right here. The list, not the expected. So I am going to put that last. Okay. So I am going to say, actually it is set up that way right now. See this expected data? Instead of that, dot contains string or character sequence, that's fine too. As long as it contains one extra bracket, we're good. And here's that list with dollar symbol. Wait a minute. Syntax error.
I have another bracket in the right after.
Yeah, but that gave me an error.
Remove the one after.
This one?
Yeah, and the one you just. Yeah.
Is that now good? Okay, we're good. Now take this method and instead of isDataExist, replace it matching, and there's your expected and amount, and we're ready to run it. Okay. XML file regression run as G. If it fails, we're not going to fix it today. It could fail because of the weight features. I'm betting maybe when it goes to the invoices page, I needed to probably put a little bit of a time. It's failing. Did it give me any error? Why? No such element for, you know what, let's do this, okay? These are good. We usually don't incorporate this in classes, but probably the most important thing is how do we troubleshoot and fix things? So if I go to the refresh test output, let's look at it in a nice format. If you have to go, you can leave. It won't hurt my feelings. I know it's a long killing class. Open with. There it failed. I click here, it takes me to the failure. Look at this. No such element. You know an element failed. Can I make the font bigger? Does it give you a hint what failed? What failed? More info. When? Which action? It couldn't get to the invoices page quickly enough. Right after add new invoices, it needs some sort of wait. Okay, for now, do a thread slip and see if your philosophy is accurate. So if you go to here, go to invoices page without clicking, add a piece of a slip in front of it. And that's gonna throw a declaration, that thing. Okay. Now let's run this again. If this passes this time, then we got it. Yeah, it's saved. But when you run it, it's gonna save it as well. Automatically, I hope so. All right. Here's test case. Still fail. Maybe it's failed for a different reason this time. Link text invoice, and maybe it's not a link text. Or I spelled it wrong. Navigation should have that, right? Site navigation. Invoices. Messed it up. I'm gonna leave it at this, but this is gonna pass, okay? I can upload this test case, this project into GitHub. Just give me some time and look for in session 9. It may be another URL here, but go ahead and clone this one and take a look at it. This probably has a beautiful test case in there with the same stuff in it, and you can add onto it to practice more. No homework for tonight other than just kind of, if you do those kinds of things, import, look at it. Tomorrow we're going to do BDD, and then I'll give you homework to do on BDD classes. Online folks, any questions before we end the class?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, folks. Have a wonderful weekend.